Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name's Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. Want to remind you we are a proud service of Walther Firearms, and the brand new Walther Steel Frame PDP is right here. Uh, Check one out if you can find one. I just don't know that I have ever picked up a gun and had it felt more gooder in my hand than this one. I really like the way the extra grip surface makes the grip a little bit rounder. And of course, the trigger is the best stock trigger I have ever felt out of the box on a firearm ever. When you finally get your hands on one and you try the trigger, you will smile in a way that you haven't smiled when touching a stock trigger ever before. It's just a phenomenal gun. Go go check one out. Obviously comes with Walther's 30-day money-back guarantee. I assure you, you will not need or want to use the 30-day money-back guarantee with this guy. It is that good. And of course, CR Speed, as you know, makes the, say it with me, the finest gun handling gadgetry you can wrap around your waist or anywhere else. The AMG-lab.com Commanderson timer continues to turn heads and blow minds by putting the time into the tablet. Hunter's HD Gold is the only eyewear that I wear, and a lot of people don't know this, but Hunter's HD Gold was developed to be able to see a deer antler at 200 yards in dusk or dawn conditions. And I can attest to that because I walk 3 dogs every day in a target-rich environment, and my only opportunity to avoid being drugged down the hill again is to see the deer antler before they do and brace myself accordingly. I kind of, if you remember the Matrix movie, I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2, where Neo learns to fly and he does that thing where he bends down and punches the ground before he lifts off. Well, that's what I have to do when my dogs see a deer to avoid getting drugged down the hill. So I become Neo. I'm Mr. Anderson, so becoming Neo is pretty easy. But the Hunter's HD Gold makes it easy to see the deer antlers before they do. Better deer antler vision than a dog. That's CR Speed. And of course, Targets USA manufactures the finest steel targetry on the planet. It's really fun to listen to other podcasts and hear people say that. Manny Talks Shooting has been coming up on my YouTube a bunch, so on log drives I'll listen to that. And I want to thank Manny for co-opting my Targets USA, the finest steel targetry on the planet. And of course, OutdoorDynamics.net remanufactures the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser, and ShootingSportsInnovations.com is a lot to type because there's a lot to see when you finally get there. You can always check out upcoming classes on AndersonShooting.com to see where we're at and where we're going to be going. We're adding new classes virtually every week, so if you want to get on the schedule, this is the time. Please send me an email and say, hey, come on down my way, and we'll be happy to put those details together for you. It all starts with a simple email to steve@andersonshooting.com. Just a couple of spots left for the Steve Anderson Joey Sauerland complete shooter, complete practical shooter, an immersive experience. You're going to get treated to mental management, and then you'll do shot calling and match mode and accuracy with me. Joey will be handling speed, movement, and physical fitness. I'm not aware that anybody's ever done anything like this. There's just a couple of spots left for that. That's going to be in Lima, Ohio, February 24 and 25 at the Midwest Shooting Center. It is indoors, so you don't need to worry about that in the cold months, and more on the cold months coming soon. Also had a meeting yesterday about going to Brazil. So if you are in Brazil, and you're not Guilherme. Guilherme is my number one Brazilian dude. But if you're in Brazil and you'd like to get in on some Brazilian classes, send me an email and we'll add you to the list. It's still in the kind of exploratory phases, but very much looking forward to going to Brazil. And we may be doing a match in Brazil, and they've asked me to design some stages. So if we wind up doing that, and I'm sure we will, I will treat you Brazilians to your very first 15 hit factor stage. We're gonna crank it up for you guys in Brazil. Give you guys some high hit factors to shoot just for fun. All right. So if you're in a part of the country where it's getting cold, today is 40 degrees and sunny here in Newark, Ohio. Oh, and by the way, you can also come to Newark and train whenever you want to. That's another thing, easy to do. Just send me an email. We'll get you on the schedule for that. Anywhere near Newark, Ohio, we do have a ranch here with all kinds of stuff. We do a great one-day class where we put virtually everything from all the classes into one day. It's a very, very great way. In fact, that's what Joey Sauerland did. That's one of the reasons he got where he's at so quickly, is he came to see me when he was pretty new. And I remember at one time he had fired, I think it was when he hit like 6,000 rounds of total live ammunition, had already made the G, had already won a bunch of stuff, and realized that over half of his live ammunition had been fired on my range. So it's pretty cool, something we're pretty proud of here. But if you're in a part of the country where you have an off season because of weather, you may be wondering what to do in the off season. Well, I have some recommendations for you. You could take a scheduled break. If you're going to take a scheduled break from shooting and or training, I highly recommend that you set a date to resume. If you do not set a date to resume, there is a slight risk that your break could be longer than normal or longer than desired. I know that numerous times in the sport I have taken a break for numerous reasons, did not set a resumption date, and wound up being out of the sport for a little while. If you're feeling burnout, understand that burnout occurs when effort exceeds reward. So one thing you may need to do is reduce the effort or increase the reward. That will prevent burnout. Burnout occurs, jobs, relationships, hobbies, sports, and anything where the effort to maintain it is exceeding the reward to participate in it. And shooting is a lot of work. It can be a lot of work. If you want to do great things and reach great heights, it's going to be a lot of work. And sometimes, if the reward is not strong enough, we do feel a little twinge of burnout. If that's happening to you, please let me know. We can have a discussion about that. No problem. All right. So if you don't want to take a scheduled break, or when your scheduled break is over and you resume training, the other thing you can do is use dry fire to get crazy fast. If there's anybody you are seeing on the social medias or the videos or wherever you're seeing stuff or at matches, if this person has gotten fast in the last 5 years or so, I can virtually guarantee you that that is a result of dry fire. Dry fire is the easiest way to get stupid, crazy Instagram. I want to use a word that I'm not going to use, a descriptor that's not an appropriate descriptor for a friendly program. Crazy fast. Just crazy, crazy fast. And it's also an easy way to improve your classification when matches resume. Dry fire is free. Dry fire only requires a little bit of time. The unloaded gun that you've got is the best tool for dry fire. You need a timer of some sort. And if you aggressively reduce your par times, you're building subconscious speed. So you're making the normal person who draws the gun, who reloads the gun, who moves with the gun, you're making those normal activities faster. And that's what we want. We want the speed to be subconscious so that you don't need to try to go fast. You don't ever need to hurry. You're becoming a faster athlete. Now, if you are going to engage in a lot of speed mode dry fire, and speed mode dry fire simply means the timer is more important than the target. That's the only thing speed mode means in the three modes of practice. It simply means that what the timer is telling me is more important than the target. Are you telling me the action doesn't matter? It's not what I said. I appreciate the opportunity for clarification, but that's not what I said. What I said is the timer is more important than the target. That is speed mode. In a sport that's half speed, we've got to be getting faster. And it does require a strong match mode to avoid taking the dry fire cadence to matches. I remember one time the optic on my open gun had broken, and this gentleman that I was working with insisted that I shoot his gun at this match we were going to. Wasn't really interested in doing it. Don't like taking brand new guns to matches. Had never fired this particular gun, but this guy insisted, very insistently, that I shoot his gun. And the very first stage was El Pres. You guys that shoot Circleville, Ohio, you may remember I was there with Ed, what was his last name? Ed Savoy. And Ed Savoy was in the sport for a while, and he insisted that I shoot his gun. Super light STI. At the time, I was still shooting the old boat anchor Caspian, and this gun was very, very light, very unfamiliar. I hadn't fired a single round out of it, and the very first stage was El Presidente. And I very foolishly decided to duplicate my dry fire cadence, and it was a disaster. It was a complete disaster. So a strong match mode is required to avoid taking your dry fire cadence to the matches. While you're doing speed mode dry fire, you want to report accuracy as a positive as opposed to a negative. Remember, the timer's more important, but you can still be calling your shots. And when you get done, you should report your alphas as a rough percentage, right? Hey, I'm doing 6 reload 6. I'm under 3 seconds, 80% alphas. Perfect. That's a whole lot better than 20% Charlie's, Deltas, Mikes. Okay, 80% alphas. So the next thing you want to do, either take it to 2.9 or keep it at 3 seconds and look for a high percentage of alphas. Those are your two options. Right? You got to be smart about this stuff. Just understand that when you're dry firing multiple shots on multiple targets, the splits are the only thing that you don't get to keep in live fire. It's the only thing. Draws you get to keep, reloads you get to keep, transitions you get to keep. The splits are the only thing you don't get to keep. But that doesn't mean that you should reduce them when you're dry firing artificially. When I first got into dry fire, I considered doing something to, I suppose, account for recoil. I considered moving the gun a little bit. I considered reducing my splits. And then I came to the conclusion that, hey, I'm seeing what I need to see. The gun is not moving in recoil. Therefore, I am seeing what I need to see for every shot. Therefore, I do not need to artificially reduce my splits. And if we have the mental discipline to see what we need to see when the gun is actually going off, there's no downside. But if you try to take that dry fire cadence to a competition, or if you're shooting for score, those splits will tend to be a little bit inaccurate because they probably are, well, they are unrealistic in most dry fire drills. So you don't get to keep the splits, but I don't think that means you should artificially reduce them. It's just my opinion. The other thing we want to do is make one-handed gun handling a favorite strength. We're going to call that one handling. We've invented a new word here on That Shooting Show podcast, and we're going to call it one handling. I want you guys to improve your one handling. It is far easier to be a one-handed grandmaster than it is to be a two-handed grandmaster. Meaning that if you get great at one-handed shooting, it will be a lot easier to class up on one-handed classifiers. And it's also easier to be the best one-handed shooter than it is to be the best two-handed shooter. Most people don't dedicate too much time to that. Well, I know, but it ain't that big a deal in most matches. Yes, I understand. I agree with you. I believe Nationals, Care Optics Nationals, there was there were two one-handed stages. Jay Beal won the refinement repetition stage and did very well on the other one. But if these matches, if you look at the top, they're usually decided by a very slim margin. And if you can make one-handed gun handling a strength, if you can make your one handling a strength, what a great way to increase that margin or decrease that margin on your competitor. I do remember Nationals one year, they were like 4 one-handed stages. It's a big deal. There's a lot of one-handed shooting. So let's use this time to make your one handling a strength. I know for a fact that one of the reasons I was able to get to Grandmaster relatively quickly was because I was great at shooting the gun one-handed. The very first time I saw a one-handed stage and I heard grown men weep and cry and moan and complain, I thought, this is an easy way. It's an easy way to get better. Easy. And I just made one-handling a strength. You can do the same thing. You could be the best one-handed shooter in your area in two short months. The other thing you can do is use dry fire to improve your match mode shooting. So if speed mode means the timer's more important than the target, match mode means the definition of success is leaving only acceptable shots as quickly as you can see them without the conscious control of speed. So it's a great opportunity to rehearse surrendering to your point of focus. You folks that have done match mode classes with me, you know that your percentage of satisfaction with your run is the exact same as your percentage of surrender to your point of focus. So when you pick one thing to think about after a subconscious stage plan, once you get a subconscious stage plan and you pick one thing to think about, your percentage of happiness, of satisfaction with that run will be the exact same as your percentage of surrender to the correct point of focus. Center of the dot, call the shot. I will see what I need to see. Percent of your satisfaction will be the same as your percentage of surrender to that one idea. Because you will get a subconscious performance. When you think about one thing, ideally related to vision, it forces everything else into the subconscious, and that's what we want. Okay? So use dry fire to rehearse surrendering to your point of focus in a match mode environment. It's also very helpful to make switching into match mode an instantaneous thing that you can do. Coming out of your normal speed mode dry fire, working on your par times, it's a very good idea to get into match mode and rehearse your mental discipline to leaving only acceptable shots as quickly as you can see them without the conscious control of speed. It's just as simple as that. Without the conscious control of speed. That's what we're looking for. Okay? So, slowing down, speeding up, both of these things require the conscious mind. Both of these things will prevent a subconscious performance. It's just as simple as that. Okay? Okay, let's see what's next here. Oh, and as far as match mode goes, we've discussed it numerous times. The easiest way to do it is to put 10 seconds on your par time, pick two things to shoot at, and go. Here, we can actually do it right now. I'll show you. Okay. I don't have a shot timer, but I do have a timer on my phone we can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a 10-second timer, and I'm going to dry fire two things back and forth for 10 seconds. Okay? So I will pick out the Doritos bag on the kitchen table. Let me back this up a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't wake the dogs up. Shh, be very quiet. Okay. So we're going to dry fire the Doritos bag that my wife and daughter left on the kitchen table and the thermostat over here on the right. We're going to do that for 10 seconds. Okay. Doritos bag will be paper. Thermostat will be steel. So 2 on the Doritos bag, 1 on the thermostat. Gun's empty. Okay. I'm going to do it for 10 seconds. Okay. All right. 0. 10 seconds. And you'd use the par time on your timer for this normally. Here we go. Am I ready? Yes, I'm ready. Stand by. Beep. And I'm attacked by a Great Dane. Okay. 10 seconds. All acceptable shots. Okay. And I can... You YouTubers can see the Great Dane attack that has just occurred. And the next thing to do would be to add 3 targets and do it for 12 seconds. And then 14 seconds, just keep changing stuff and adding time, changing stuff and adding time. Put movement in there. You can put reloads in there if you want. If you're in a low cap division, you probably should put more reloads in there. If you're in a high cap division, putting reloads in there won't be as important. That's totally up to you. Okay? Yes, buddy, I survived. You YouTubers can see the giant head of Rogue the Great Dane here, checking to make sure that I am not injured. And of course I'm not. All right, so that's a quick thing on match mode. The other thing you can do You could do the standard 12 drills without a par time. I wouldn't do as much of that. I would rather see you leave only acceptable shots for an extended period of time: 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, up to 30 seconds. Leaving only acceptable shots. This means you'll be firing makeup shots as needed. And if you don't have any makeup shots in your match mode dry fire, you probably either aren't paying attention or you're not seeing what you need to see. If you have too many makeups, you might still be in speed mode. Okay? All right. Now let's see if I can do another one here. Shh, do it very quietly. Now we'll go up to 18 seconds. So now we're going to do Doritos bag. So there's a Doritos bag, there's a red Folgers coffee container, and then there's the thermostat. So Doritos bag, coffee container will be paper, thermostat will be steel. Okay, let's see if I get attacked by dogs again during match mode dry fire. It's very likely to happen. Here we go, 18 seconds. A better transition on that one. Okay, 18 seconds. All acceptable shots. And here comes Rogue to make sure I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay. you YouTubers get to see Rogue checking on me again. That was awesome. So that's how to do match mode dry fire. 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. All up to 30 seconds. If I wasn't in danger of being attacked by a Great Dane, I would show you ones with movement. He obviously will not tolerate that because he's already worried about my safety. But that's match mode. Okay? Now, the other thing you can do in dry fire is work on movement. Particularly if you're one of these people that says, thank you, buddy, that says, I don't care about my classification. Well, number one, I don't really believe that. And number two, if you're somebody who's worried about being a so-called paper GM or a paper M or anything of the sort, maybe you want to work on movement a little bit more. You can use dry fire to improve your movement. Literally all you, see, this is better dog noise. He's actually not barking for once. Anything that can be duplicated can be set up in dry fire, and you can put a par time on it, and you start whittling away at it 1/10 of a second at a time. You want to use something well-defined. You can use boxes, doorways, whatever you've got, and say, okay, I'm going to shoot this thing from here. I'm going to move this amount of distance to shoot this thing from here. How long is that going to take you? Put a par time on it, and then chip away at that par time 1/10 of a second at a time. Over time, you'll be building speed in your subconscious movement. These are great things. Anytime I'm working on movement in dry fire, I like to use simulated steel. Only because the accuracy standard is pass-fail. If we do movement exercises on paper, sometimes we might have to worry about a Charlie or a Delta and wonder if that's okay. If we use steel, a couple of things are good. The accuracy is pass or fail, which means either you hit it or you didn't. That's a great way to activate makeups. And you also get really good at entering and exiting on steel, which is something that a lot of people don't like to do. If you look at when people are looking at stages, they will frequently try to avoid leaving or entering on steel. If you do your movement exercises on simulated steel, you get the benefit of pass-fail accuracy and you get increased confidence for entering and leaving on steel. The other thing you can do is get really great at shooting while moving in dry fire. And there's two ways you can do it. The easiest shooting while moving drill in dry fire. Boy, if I show you this, I'm going to get attacked for sure. It might make a funny video. I think it's worth the risk. What do you think? Should I do it? Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. You are going to see me get attacked by a Great Dane here very shortly, but it'll be a very loving attack. So all you got to do to work on your dry fire while moving, here comes the attack. Hold something, hold kind of a smallish target, and then move around in a figure 8 while you hold that target. So here I am, holding my figure 8. Here comes my dog attack, and I'm just going to move around in a figure 8, holding that acceptable sight picture. Don't even need to pull the trigger, okay? I'm just moving around, holding that acceptable sight picture while dodging a Great Dane. I know, buddy. I'm okay. I know. I dry fired for 45 seconds and survived. You YouTubers are so lucky. You get to see and hear the great rogue. Oh, here comes Looney. All right, Looney's going to say hi. All right. This is the intermediate Dane. She's almost a Great Dane. She's a little bit more intermediate. Yeah, it's a good girl. You guys finally get to see the guys that make all the noise. All right, so that's one thing you can do for shooting while moving. The other thing you can do is the standard 12 drills. You can do all of the refinement repetition drills while moving. And as you're doing that, the par times are a little bit interesting there. For the presentation drills, like drill 1 is a draw to acceptable sight picture. I would still set that at 0.6, but I would stay moving after I acquire that sight picture for whatever distance I've got. So if I've got 6 feet to go vertically, I'm going to start moving when I draw the gun, and I'm just going to hold that sight picture while I finish my 6 feet of movement. And then on the other ones, see 6 reload 6, you kind of want to do the same thing. You can use a par time or you cannot use a par time. That's totally up to you. But I do think we need to be leaving only acceptable shots, and that means makeups if the shots are unacceptable. But I'm telling you, dry fire is an easy way to get great at shooting while moving. And it's also better for the self-image because any accuracy problems, I believe, won't imprint as negatively on the self-image, right? If you're doing shooting while moving and you have some sorry about the camera work there, and you have some poor shots, it can damage the self-image. You're going to have to pace those. But in dry fire, all you got to do is do it again, much less damaging for the self-image. Okay, so get really good at shooting while moving. I mean, geez, what if you did dry fire 2-a-days and your second session was 100% while moving? Wouldn't that be a great way to get really good at shooting while moving? I think it would be. The next thing you can do is set an inevitable goal for next season. What do you want to accomplish next year? Right? Do you want to win your state championship? Do you want to increase your classification? Do you want to get a match bump? What is it you are going to do next year or be on your way to doing next year? Okay, this is not necessarily about setting a deadline. This is about saying, hey, this is what I really want to accomplish next year. You make that goal inevitable as opposed to possible, plausible, impossible, whatever. Make that sucker inevitable and it will happen. Why do you want it? Why do you want to be the best shooter in the state? And most importantly, what are you going to change to get it? What are you going to do? What do you need to do to reach that goal? And here's an easy way to figure out what you need to do. Let's say your goal is to be state champion, and you've been top 3, top 5. For some, you've been in the top 5, top 10 for some amount of time. What if in 2024 they held your state match and you came in second place at 99%? What is the most likely reason for that result? What is the most likely reason that you didn't quite make it? And you know what it is. It's either going to be speed, accuracy, or mental mistakes. One of those 3. Okay? Either you need to get faster, you need to get better at match mode, or you need a better mental game. It's going to be one of those 3. Okay? Whichever of those 3 it is, that's what you need to fix. And we'll come back to that in a minute. But you know what it is. So just imagine you went and shot your state match again. You came in second place at 99.6%. What was the reason? That's what you need to fix. Okay? You can also improve your physical fitness. There is no downside to increased physical fitness. None. 0. And the best upside is physical endurance and stamina. I will let Joey Sauerland comment on the other benefits of physical fitness. Obviously, this is a physical sport. The human body is required to do things. Having a human body that's in better shape will only make you... Sorry about the camera here. I'm just going to fix something here. That should be better. There we go. Having a better human body can only make you a better human athlete. And those of you that are coming to see Joey and I in Lima in February, really looking forward to hearing what he has to say about physical fitness. I don't know that there's anybody more qualified to be in the physical fitness at that level and a shooter at that level. I just can't imagine anybody more qualified to do that. Now, if you're stuck shooting indoors, if you're stuck at an indoor range, let's presume no draws. Let's presume no rapid fire. That's great. Group shooting is the best thing to do at the indoor range. Freestyle group shooting, strong hand only group shooting, and weak hand only group shooting. All this is going to do is make the hard shots easier and more subconscious and give you greater confidence in your accuracy. Those of you that went to handgun nationals and were afraid of the 37-yard mini poppers, somebody who shoot groups would have no fear of a 37-yard mini popper. Now, you'll never shoot those as slow as you'd shoot your groups, but a really interesting thing happens when you shoot a lot of groups. Whenever a shot gets more difficult, your trigger control will become subconscious. You will dip into that group shooting trigger control, and it won't be as slow as your group shooting, but it'll be more gentle, more precise, and a generally better trigger pull, which comes from shooting groups. I had a great conversation with a guy last week. He tells me he's been shooting groups. His groups are rapidly improving, and lo and behold, his steel shooting has gotten so much better. His accuracy has gotten so much better because group shooting is accuracy mode shooting. The target is more important than the timer. In fact, there is no time in group shooting. And so it's a great thing to do if you're stuck indoors. Doesn't require that many rounds of ammo either. The other great thing that can be done in conjunction with group shooting or by itself is shot calling. Shot calling is the most important skill you can possibly have, and being stuck indoors is a great place to practice it because the bullet holes are very difficult to see. And at the risk of incurring another canine disruption here, I'll give you another little demonstration. Okay, now we have a Doberman Pinscher in there who might do something. So let me show you real quick how group shooting helps with shot calling. Okay, I'm going to hold on the green camera light on my computer. Okay, see that? That's what happens when you hit the trigger really hard. Now I'm going to do it without disturbing the muzzle in a group shooting fashion. Okay, there was a very natural wobble of the gun, but you notice my trigger pull didn't disturb it. The Great Dane may have disturbed it, but the trigger pull did not disturb it. I may have to do this next one one-handed. Okay. Oh. We'll do it over here. We'll do it on the thermostat. Oop, you can't see that. We'll do it in the same place. Okay. I won't disturb the muzzle, but the Great Dane might. There we go, taking up slack. Now the muzzle's shaking, and that's okay. When I fired the gun, the muzzle didn't dip. Okay, and it's okay if the sight picture's wobbly. That'll definitely make the sight picture wobblier. So the muzzle's shaking a little bit, and that's okay. Gradually increase pressure. Okay. That was a great trigger pull. And I called that shot slightly low left. You may have seen the gun go this direction a tiny little bit. Okay, so group shooting and shot calling, either together or separately. Sorry about that. It's hard to do when you've got a massive dog assisting. I know, buddy. You're such a good boy. I know. Such a good boy. Now, if you're going to be shooting matches, smaller matches, primarily indoors, oh, here's the Doberman Pinscher coming to say hi. Well, you guys are getting the full doggy experience here. If you're going to be shooting matches indoors, or any matches at all during the off season or any time, okay, come on. You guys need to go do something different. I know. I know. If you're going to be shooting matches during your so-called down season, oh my goodness. Okay. You guys have got to go do something different now. My viewers are going to be losing patience for this. All right, so you will never do enough of anything in a match for it to count as shooting practice. Okay? If however many stages there are, that's as many draws as you're going to do. 4 stages, 4 draws. That is not draw practice. And what you need to be doing is use these competitions as competition practice, not shooting practice. Every time I hear somebody say they use their local matches for practice shooting, drives me up the wall. You're not ever going to do enough of anything in any match for it to count as shooting practice. But you will be competing. You know, I was going to predict a better day for dog noise today. We've already had our deliveries. We'll see what happens. We're almost done anyway. So this is great. You guys got to meet the dogs, get to see the dogs, and now you get to hear the dogs. Let's hear it for dog noise. And I'm not sure if I've told you, but the best part about the dog noise is every third bark contains a fart. So it's basically bark, bark, fark, bark, bark, fark. And then once the barking subsides, you get this nice wave of canine flatulence that enters the room. So that's great. But use your matches as practice competing, following your competition process, not as practice shooting. And if the mental game is the reason, remember we talked earlier, if you were to come in second place at 99%, would it be mental? If it's a mental problem, you have got to learn mental management. You've got to take the mental management class, and you can't just take the class. You've got to start living by the mental management principles. You've got to. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have a mental game problem. Okay? And of course, the other thing we'd like you to do is plan a class for 2024. When I was talking to the guys in Brazil about doing that class, they said, you know, it's really important for us that we teach people how to practice. Well, that's what my classes are. The classes that I provide are the classes that I wish I had when I didn't know what to do. In the late 90s, early 2000s, we were active on the Enos forums, and if you guys remember that time, we were always looking for the secret. What's the secret? What's the secret? What's the secret? Brian Enos would pop by and say something very zen that we pretended like we understood, but I'm telling you guys what the secret is. Okay? The secret is a subconscious stage plan and a subconscious performance. That's the secret to competition. We're going to show you how to do that. In training, utilizing the 3 modes of practice and understanding what they are. Hey, I'm in speed mode. The timer is more important than the target. Hey, I'm in accuracy mode. The target's more important than the timer. Hey, I'm in match mode where my job is to leave only acceptable shots without consciously controlling speed. Learning to use those 3 modes of practice is the secret, in, of course, conjunction with a subconscious stage plan and subconscious performance. And we would love to help you do all of those things. And we do not take the dogs on the road, so you won't have to worry about canine interruption or canine flatulence during that time. Those are problems restricted to here. Okay? So I hope you've enjoyed today's program. I apologize for the canine interruptions and the canine noise. You're used to it by now, otherwise you wouldn't be here anymore. So, till we meet again on the range, in person, on the Zoom, or on the phone, or anywhere our paths might cross. Be like me, do what I do. Say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Get to work.